What do you think their chances are coming up here against Denver? Have you watched much New England this year?
Yeah, a good amount. For the longest time, I think the biggest, criticism was the strength of schedule, right? But it's it's not their choice, right? They're
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
who's ever next on the schedule, and have done obviously an excellent job all year. They travel well, they play well, they're able to run the ball, right? I think the run sets up the pass really well. They play really sound defense. Special teams are excellent. You got all three phases clicking, so you can take that on the road and go win a huge game. And obviously, Denver's chances drop significantly when your starting quarterback's out for the game.
Yeah.
But I think what's the most important is the message that Vrabel is telling that locker room all week, and especially right before kickoff. And they play with a chip on their shoulder because they've heard it as well, right? They've heard that they haven't played anybody. They heard how good Houston's defense was, and he's constantly reminding him he's a great motivator. He says the right things at the right time to get those guys flying around, and expect nothing different this weekend.
Yeah, sometimes he's a great agitator. Motivator,
That's it.
agitator, whatever you want to say. Braves will say whatever he wants to piss you off. That's for
Whatever.
sure. We all know that know him well.
Yes.
But also I think you look at it like Fitz and I told us last week with Josh as the OC, talking about a guy who's been there, done that from the standpoint of these playoff runs, what it takes to win these kind of games. You look at New England, really like how they face these two of the best defenses in the league back to back. And, outside of probably Drake May and some of these fumbles in the pocket and getting the ball out a little sooner, I think really outside of that, you can see that they're kind of in control and they know when they take their chances and when not to. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. It'll be interesting to see what the plan is this week with Denver, with Bo Nix being out, and kind of how Josh and them attack Denver's defense, because this is another third defense in a row, one of the best in the league this year, and another group with great edge rushers. So Drake May got a little lucky last week. 4 different fumbles, be able to get on 2 of them, but that'll be another big challenge to this game.
Absolutely. No, it'll be a great game. It'll be a great game. Like you said, it'll be interesting what Peyton kind of draws up and how they're going to attack them, right? That's obviously a huge loss.
I think it's interesting because obviously Bo Nix is a huge loss, but Stidham has been around, right? He's been in that system for quite a while. He hasn't played a ton, but they've got a great offensive line. Sean Payton, I think, with Josh McDaniels, those are the two best screen callers in the NFL. And so he's going to be able to dial some stuff up where Stidham's going to get going early. I don't know that it's as huge of a loss as people are saying, and I could be crazy, for saying that, but I think Stidham is going to be fine. I think that Sean Payton's going to be able to insulate him with some of the play calling. And then, Kush, what about like this resurgence of defenses? Houston we talked about, but Seattle and Denver both, like it just seems like the NFL's cyclical, and we were talking about offenses for a long time. But like if you watch this Seattle defense play, they are unbelievable. You mentioned flying to the ball. Like they're dangerous, man. They're hitting people. They're scary to go against.
Yeah, they are. I think they did a great job in free agency in the draft. Obviously, coach comes in from Baltimore, implements his kind of system right away. When I saw Pete leave, I suspected kind of a 5-year rebuild. When Pete left Seattle, I just thought it was going to be a real slow process. It was going to be hard to kind of build back the culture that he had instilled. But clearly that they picked up right away. And look, playing really sound defense, being able to run the ball and not turning the ball over. That's a recipe for success no matter where you play.
Yeah.
And,
I don't care what year it is either.
Yeah,
it can be any time. Who cares about the cycle?
Exactly.
If you can do those 3 things, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Yep. And you look at Seattle, you look at Denver, Houston, New England, like they can all rush your pasture and they can stop the run and they cover really well and they're aggressive going after the ball. I think the turnover ratio is huge for those teams. And seeing defense that kind of reemergence of defense, I think it's just the emphasis on one, good game planning, obviously. And I think the guys are really locked in and do a good job of getting guys to do exactly what they need to do, really discipline. But I think, just the amount of good tackling that you've seen this year, and even at the college level last night, like I watched Indiana all year and it's the best tackling team I thought I saw in college football all year. And it makes such a huge difference when you limit the missed tackles and the first guy's bringing them down instead of, it's not 3rd and 1, it's 2nd and 7, right? It's a huge, huge deal. And it changes the complete offensive game plan and play calling as well.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, you mentioned in Seattle too, just with really that turnaround being so quick. It made me immediately think about when you said you look around the league, leader of men. Obviously, there's schematics to all of this, but leader of men type situation. You look at Seattle last year. Defensively, they definitely had an uptick and were playing better, but offensively, it really wasn't a style that Mike Macdonald liked. You could tell he kind of wasn't comfortable. He makes an immediate change, which you don't see a lot after his coach's very first year,
Right.
and brings in a style of what does he go get? Clint Kubiak. Let's run the football. Let's play action. You know what? Let's methodically have these drives where we're able to do those things. We've seen those offenses be successful in that Shanahan McVay type scheme, and let's play great defense.
Yeah.
And you see how fast they turn it around. Those kind of decisions I think are tough as head coaches in the league. And it's like we see now, like creating real identities that guys buy into and a belief of who their leader is, the messaging of what we're going to do and what we're going to be about. I think the inconsistency sometimes is where players get lost. Like, hey man, you're telling me we're going to be this, and then everything we're doing is not matching what you're telling me our identity is. But when you see direct leaders who are like, hey, no, here's our identity, and I will make decisions that we will always be fighting to get closer and closer to the identity of who we say we are as a football team. I think you see that is the trend of who is successful right now in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and the players pick up on it right away. Like you said,
yep.
It's one of those
you can't lie in front of that room.
No. And if you're truthful and even if you're wrong, but you're sticking to what you said, they respect that. Right. And they'll honor that and they'll play for you. And, that was one of the things, especially like playing for Kubiak. And I know his sons are probably the same exact way. Like they believe in something and that's not gonna falter. They're sticking with it. And, players appreciate that consistency.
When Whit mentioned earlier, and I was laughing too, Vrabel being an agitator, you kind of smiled, but you two are obviously both alphas, the alphas of the alphas. Do you have a memory or an example of a time where you guys kind of went at it?
For sure. Yeah. 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 Mike is, I played for Ken Norton Jr. in college too. Right. And he was the king agitator. He would make you hate someone so much you never met in your life before, but by Saturday you were ready to, take his head off. Yeah. And that was his job. And he knew what to say and when to say it. Like he was really good at it. And he would reel it back in at times too. And he would also have a ton of positive reinforcement, right? So there was the counterbalance of the two. What I appreciated about Mike was like, obviously Mike played and Mike was awesome. And, but there was no restraint of what Mike would say. And, there were times it would piss you off, it would make you better, or it would piss you off, frustrate you. And you'd kind of be out of it for a series because you're trying to, knock somebody out while you're doing is thinking about Mike and he's not even playing the game. But, at the same time, he was able to have that conversation when you come off the field. Like, look, man, I know what you're feeling. I know I pissed you off, but like, let's turn this into a good thing. But, as far as, us going at it, I just remember, and I think Fitz, he probably did it when you were there too. Mike would run down on kickoffs. Mike would, play middle linebacker scout team. He would rush the passer and he would put the red helmet cap on, right, for the scout team look. And pre-practice, we'd have our walkthrough and he'd be the, scout team running back and he would be running full speed, like lowering his shoulder, just trying to run people over with no pads. And it was just one of those days we were in the bubble and it was like week 4 or 5 and, he's talking shit. He's, acting like he's scoring, doing high knees, spiking the ball, and we're just tagging off on him. And he came through one time on a B gap and I just put my shoulder in his chest as hard as I could. And just, he hit the ground, the beanie flew off and, he was just he didn't act like, he wasn't going to act like he was hurt, but I knew it hurt him. Went back to the huddle and Romeo Crennel was just crying, laughing. And he said, I've been waiting for 18 years for somebody to do that to him. So I really appreciate that. And that was awesome. And, but it was
that's
like
great.
Happened. 2 plays later, Mike and I are talking about, 3-4 defense and
right.
It was a good moment for both of us to kind of clear the air a little bit and get back to business.
Yeah, he doesn't play any games. I can remember about 4 years ago at American Century, my son was probably, he had to be 9 or 10. Michael Fitz, who loves to like tussle a little bit. He like, they love Coach Braves and they get to see him all the time out there. And so he's like, hey, I'm going to go up to Coach Braves' table and like, I'm going to shove him a little bit, Dad. I'm like, oh, that's cool, buddy. The next thing I know, I look over there and Braves has got him like face down in the concrete, like holding him down. I'm like, he didn't let him even like try to compete with him a little bit. He's like, Dad, you kind of like let me win at first. Like Coach Braves just like, he just pinned me in the concrete. I couldn't move, Dad.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's
Coach Vrabel.
He can't help himself.
You just got to know it, Mike. You just got to know you got to, hey, don't be ginger. Next time, just go straight in. Just throw a shot, get it started.
It might have been at that same golf tournament that he taught my son a very valuable lesson. So Brady Cush, who was 7 when we played together, he was the one that did the math problem in the post game. He is now almost 6'6", 265. He's a big kid.
Should be a left tackle.
He's a freshman in college.
He was the one at the Harvard game. You sent me the picture of that time, right? When you
yeah,
guys were in the
yeah. On the laptop. Yes,
exactly.
But he was my caddy at American Century, and I think at the time he was 14, so probably 4 years ago, and he is chafing like crazy.
Right.
And I'm playing with Vrabes, and Vrabes is watching him day 2 and day 3 carrying this bag, just struggling with the chafage. And so he taught him a very valuable lesson that day about big men and chafing and the proper undergarments that you have to wear, and Brady will take that with him for the rest of his life. So Vrabel knows a little bit about everything.
He does.
He's a worldly man.
That's a great description of him, and he's not afraid to tell you that either.
Nope.
Or give you the life lessons he's learned and passed it on. And again, I mean that's true life experience. And I were laughing and joking about it, but these are the kind of stories he tells to the team as well, right? And I think they appreciate the human nature and relation that you can have with a head coach.